Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our engagement session. My name is Jasmine Isaac, and I'm with the City of Ann Arbor, the Community Engagement Specialist for this project. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your evening to join us to find out some more information about the Stone School Road Sidewalk Gap Elimination Project. So before we get started this evening, just a few quick informations to know if you're not familiar with Zoom, or if you are, just a quick refresher. If you have a question throughout the session or even at the end of the session, you can click the Q&A bubble on your taskbar, type your question in and submit it. I will receive it. And towards the end of the session, we will have time to go through and answer those questions. For those who are dialing in, perhaps on the phone, you can select 9 to raise your hand, and then we will address your question. So just some quick technology overview. And of course, if you have any trouble, just let us know. Also, there is a poll within our taskbar that we will launch. This is just a demographic survey, completely optional, just to help us get a better idea of the different kinds of individuals in our city that are coming out, receiving this information, and getting involved with these engagement sessions. So completely up to you if you're willing to fill this out. If not, no worries. But if you do, thank you so much in advance. So some quick meeting norms. This is a very judgment-free, safe space to give your thoughts, opinions, and hope for us to be able to answer any questions that you have. We do ask for you to just maintain respect and not to critique or be too harsh on anyone's ideas. Be thoughtful in your language in the presentation of your questions, and we will do our best to assist and answer those. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn this presentation over to our project manager, Fran, and she will give us the overview of the Stone School Road project. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Francisca, but you can call me Fran, and I will be just sharing today about the project, the design, and then at the end, we'll have extended time for questions. So I wanted to just do some quick introductions first with our team. So I'm the project manager, so I'll be managing the project during construction as well. And then Jasmine was the one who introduced. She's our community engagement specialist. And then we also have Nick. Nick, do you want to a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. I'm Nick Hutchinson. I'm the city engineer. I manage the engineering department here for the city.
And then on the line, we also have Jeremy. He's our design consultant. So the project is going to be a sidewalk on the east side from Eisenhower Parkway to approximately Packard Street. It's going to be closing that gap there. So we have an aerial there. Now, the reason for this project is because the city has as you know, we have a sidewalk millage where we want to prioritize closing sidewalk gaps in order to improve safety. So in particular, the Stone School Gap has one of the highest priority in our database. So we use this database. It gathers information. So I can talk more about that if you're interested in knowing more. And, we want to create sidewalks in order to improve pedestrian safety, encourage active transportation, and just provide more transportation options. So zooming in a little bit more to the properties that will be affected by this, I highlighted it in red. So we have all the properties that will be impacted by construction, and highlighted in green is the Pitfield Township parcel. So we are aware that there's a couple of properties there that are township islands, and I will explain what that is in another slide. And then we have City of Ann Arbor parcels in blue there. And the numbering is the address, and this is Stone School Road. And then on the bottom, it's Eisenhower Parkway and then Packard. So I just wanted to define a couple of terms as we get these questions a lot by property owners. So we are constructing the sidewalk on public right-of-way. So that means that it's property owned by the city. So that includes the road, pavement, and then also usually around 7 to 10 feet from the curb to into the close to the property, to the private property. So right here is a image that kind of, the hatching that describes the public right of way. And for Stone School Road, the width of that public right of way is around 60 to 96 feet. It kind of varies, but there will be another slide that shows it exactly. So the sidewalk will all be in public right of way, not on private property. I also wanted to define another term, a permanent public easement. So sometimes when the city does put utilities in or near, private parcels, we do have public easements there where we have property rights on that land. And usually it allows us to do, maintenance in case there's a water break or things like that. So the city would allow, a permanent utility easement will allow the city to keep that utility installed and maintained, and then there's different rights associated with it. But that is something that I just wanted to define with you, as I think there might be a sewer easement out there. A temporary grading easement, this might not apply here, but sometimes when we are doing construction, we do have something called the temporary grading easement where we temporarily get permission to work on private property. This is optional, of course, but if needed for construction purposes, we might reach out to a property owner directly and set that contract up between us and the property owner in order to be able to access your private property. And it's only temporary. It's only during that set construction in order to help us with whatever we're doing next to or at the private property. Yeah. So going back to township island parcels, so we are aware that there are some parcels out there that are township islands. That means that these parcels are under township jurisdiction. So they're not within the city of Ann Arbor, but they're surrounded by city of Ann Arbor. And so the green ones are township parcels and the blue ones are city of Ann Arbor. So we know that taxes are not paid, and yeah, we are aware of that. So because of the need, because they're township parcels, we do have a need to do a special assessment. So that means that we will need to distribute costs for the sidewalk to these properties. I briefly mentioned this only because we will be sending direct letters to the private properties who are township parcels with that fair share and a more detailed letter explaining the process. But just in general, since these township parcels do not pay taxes to the city and we're using city taxes to pay for the sidewalk, these costs will be assessed to each property owner for that length of sidewalk. But if these properties don't ever annex to the city, you do not have to pay these costs. And we do have more information on that, and it will be in a PDF that I will send out, or will be on our website, I mean. So brief timeline, this is the engagement period where we want to notify you of just the project, let you know what's going to happen next year. Jeremy and his team, they're finishing up the design this fall and winter. And then next spring, probably after July 1st, we will be starting construction. So again, it will be a standard 5-foot concrete sidewalk from Eisenhower to Packard Street. We will replace some, if not all, of the driveway aprons along the path. If we interfere with the driveway apron, we will replace it. And I think in this area, Jeremy can answer that question, but I think most of them need to be replaced. Also, there will be some utility poles and retaining walls that will be part of the project, as well as removing some trees and existing fences. So I'm going to hand it off to Jeremy, who's going to kind of zoom in on some of the parcels and just talk about some of those proposed construction.
All right, thanks, Fran. So what I'm going to pull up is a map of where the current sidewalk location is now. I think we're in design currently, but working through some of the challenges associated with getting in and around some of those poles, those trees, landscape beds, etc. We're going to share it from a high level, but if you have any individual questions about your parcel or impacts directly to yours, definitely add your information to the chat box, and we can either get in touch with you with more detail, or feel free to reach out directly to Fran as well, and she can answer any questions in detail on a one-on-one basis. So with that being said, this is an overview of the project. So what you're looking at is Stone School is out where my cursor is. The east side of the road is on this side. We're looking at, to the right is north. So Eisenhower is down here. Stone School, Packard is up to the north. So the dark black line here is what they were referring to as the right-of-way. This is the line that the city physically owns within the road, but also outside of the road. You can see right where this DC6 is, that's roughly where the backup curve is. So it's approximately 13 feet roughly from the backup curve to the right-of-way, give or take, depending on each property. In general, the sidewalk is going to try to be relatively close to that right-of-way, right around 1 foot off of it. But with that, there's several things that we're going to be potentially impacting. One item is some utility poles that we may or may not be able to work through with the utilities to relocate out of the path of the sidewalk. So those are things you may see. There are landscape islands that were built within the right-of-way. These are allowable. Again, this is city property, so there are going to be some of these things that are going to be impacted as a part of the sidewalk design, because the sidewalk does need to fit within that right-of-way, and these objects are in its path. There are also several items, including a fence, which you can see in this picture as well, which is technically within the right-of-way. So in those instances, those fences would be removed. Same thing as we head further down here to the north. There are some retaining walls and some fences. These are additional items that would need to be addressed as a part of the project, and those are things we're working through now. As far as driveways are concerned, Fran did discuss this and did mention this, but driveways will be replaced up to the right-of-way. The intent would be to meet the grade right at the right-of-way. There will be some regrading to accommodate our ADA standard cross slope across the driveway. A lot of times that means your driveway may be, 3 to 4%, and we need to put a certain percent across it. So it may be a little bit steeper off of the road, and then a little bit flatter at the sidewalk, and then it'll tie back into your existing grade right at the right-of-way. As we head further north, there are a handful of other items that are potential impacts, including a flagpole, including a handful of trees that are within the right-of-way. Again, we try to avoid these impacts as much as possible, and we'll continue to work out these grades and details until we can minimize those impacts to the maximum extent possible. But just some things to be aware of, including some landscaping beds. So in these instances, what would happen is those landscaping beds would get pulled back. It would still be left on either side of the sidewalk, but we would need to clear that area out to build the base for the sidewalk, as well as provide that clear path for the sidewalk. As we head further down, there's additional small trees, as well as some overhead power lines and some guy wires that would need to be relocated as well. But in general, that's the major impacts that we're looking at right now, but definitely continuing to work through the process as we go from here. I can send it back to Fran for, we want to go to questions next.
Yeah, the next few minutes, we're gonna open it up for questions, but I just wanted to reiterate, this is just a general overview of the project. We'll try to answer your questions. If it's very specific to your private property, it might be better if you can just directly reach out to me. If you want me to reach out to you, you can also put your name and phone number or email in the chat box and say, you know, can you please reach out to me to talk about my specific property and construction impacts. But in general, we do want to address your questions about, you know, schedule, timeline, construction impacts. So.
At this time, we don't have any questions, but I'll leave the floor open for a few minutes to see if anyone has a question to type in. Again, you can click the Q&A button on your Zoom taskbar and type your question and submit it to me. So I'll give 2 or 3 minutes there. Also, feel free to raise your hand. You can use that function if you are in the process of writing a question, just so we make sure we give you enough time. So you can raise your hand with the raise your hand button so we know to expect an incoming question. I think there are no questions at this time. So again, as our project manager, Fran, said, if you have a question specific to your property. Oh, I just got a question. Okay, I think this question is specific, so I will make sure that Fran gets it. But just in case, this user is curious about an old walnut tree, I guess, near his property, and who will contact us, the arborist, what arborist or company or organization will contact us about trees that are impacted by the project.
We do have our plans reviewed by forestry and, you know, if the tree needs to be moved, usually we'll try to replace it with something smaller that can grow along the path, but that particular tree, I'm not sure. I have to look into it. But in general, we do talk to forestry and see if there's any way to go around sometimes, or if it's close to the sidewalk, to be careful that we will not impact the roots. But we'll just have to see, because I'm not sure where that tree is, if it's on private property or if it's in the public right of way.
Perfect. I will make sure.
Just to add to that, I'll say that if there is an impact to that tree, and there's an opportunity for us to do something else to get around it, something like that, the person that reaching out to you will likely be Fran. It won't be some random outside company. Fran will be the point of contact for them, and we'll get the appropriate people involved.
Any more questions? Well, at this time, we'll continue on in our presentation. And again, if you have any questions, you still are able to submit them. If it's specific to your property, you can also put your address, name, whatever it may be, and we'll make sure that Fran gets in touch with you.
So last steps, I just wanted to encourage all of you, if you're not already on the email notifications, that's the primary way that I will reach out to you and let you know once we know when construction is going to start. And then once during construction, that will be the way that I update you regarding construction updates, like progress, pictures, things like that. So you can do that at our project website. There's a link there that says subscribe for email project notifications. And I know that a couple of you have already done that since I emailed a reminder today. The recording will be available on the project website later this week. And I mentioned this earlier too, the township property parcels should receive a individual letter regarding next steps in the special assessment process. And that, yeah, information specific to your private property, we can discuss that as well. If you can just reach out to me, I can look at your specific concerns.
So that is actually the conclusion of our presentation. So thank you so much for coming this evening. And also thank you so much for your time. And again, any questions, please feel free to shoot those over to our project manager, and we will surely keep you updated about the status of the project and answer any questions that you may have. So thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.